you doing there, sir?
I'm doing great.
All right. Well, we got you on a little premature, but that's all right. We're gonna rock with it because that's what we
Okay.
do. Our shows are live, and we try not to edit anything, you know. So we're gonna go with it. Suleiman, go ahead and fill them in on what we're gonna talk about today.
Yeah, like we always say, man, we building while we flying, man. So but welcome back, man. We're in our second year, episode 10. It's been a really good year for us, and we're picking up listeners every week. Today's episode, we're going to talk about HBCUs and how the current administration, the Trump administration, is attacking HBCUs and essentially anything that's Black, and how we can try to combat that a little bit as a community. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. We got a very special guest back who was with us, a few months ago, Major Hendrix of down in Georgia. He's going to talk to us about HBCUs and the programs that he's running down there. We think it's going to be an exciting show. I'm really looking forward to it. And as usual, I got my partner here, Tony Cox. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start it out since I spent the better part of about 16 years working with Major Hendrix, something like that. We were Air Force Junior RTC instructors at the local high school, Carrollton City Schools here, and enjoyed every minute of working with him, trying to build some character in these kids and everything. And as you can see, Major Hendrix is the founder of Carroll County HBCU Alumni Association, and I'll get quiet here and let him tell you what it's all about and everything.
Okay. Hey, guys. Thank you, guys, for bringing me on here tonight. It's good to be back, and glad to always talk about our organization and everything. Well, the Carroll County HBCU Alumni Association was started back in January. Actually, it was January the 23rd, 2011, about 50 feet from where I'm sitting right now in my den. So it was, I was born and raised in Carrollton, Georgia, and I had the good fortune of coming back here, like Tony was saying, get back and start a junior ROTC program. And when I got back here, after working with all these high school kids for a few months, I sort of realized that they knew nothing about HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, because I was asked them all the time what they want, what were they doing after high school, what colleges were they applying to, and to my surprise, hardly any of them was applying to our historically Black colleges and university. So after getting together and finding out that Tony was an HBCU graduate and a few other HBCU graduates that I knew in Carrollton, decided to start the Carroll County HBCU Alumni Association. And the goal was to provide support and information to students within our county and to help them to understand and give them the options of applying and attending an HBCU. So we started that, and we did that within 3 or 4 months. We actually offered our first scholarship, and we've been offering 3 to 5 scholarships every year. At this point, we've gotten about 55 to 60 scholarships that we've offered to high school students within our county. And there's been probably, I would say, double that amount, about 150 kids that have attended an HBCU since we started the organization. And we like to take credit, say not a lot of them probably would have attended anyway, but I would say a good 50 to 60% of them, because of the work that our members are doing in promoting HBCUs, they have decided to attend and graduate from HBCUs. We have a board made up of about 8 people. Like Tony here, he went to St. Augustine. We have some Spelman graduates, Tuskegee graduates, North Carolina A&T, Morehouse, Payne College, uh, Albany State. Those are the people that make up our board of directors. And so every year we try to offer these scholarships to students, get the word out, try to get to the high schools and do presentations to inform the students in high school. And last year we did something for the very first time. We had a community event where we invited parents and not students from all ages and just people in the community to come out and hear a presentation from some former HBCU graduates, some recent HBCU graduates, as well as some of the parents of some of these students that we've had some impact on. So it was a great event, and we're looking forward to repeating that each year.
Good. Good information. I think it's a good program, underappreciated, I believe, in this area. I know it's not no fault of Major or the rest of the board members because they work hard every year. It's just hard to relay this information when the community itself is not used to it.
Exactly.
We are a football community, and everybody think they're gonna go to a predominantly white school, Division I. That's their first thought. They only fall back on the other ones later on most of the time. While I got you up here, Major, I'm gonna ask you this question, and I'm probably gonna ask it a couple times today. What do you consider the biggest threat to HBCUs?
Oh, a threat to HBCUs. Well, the one thing that I think that may affect HBCUs is funding, money. Money, I think, is the big issue. A lot of the HBCUs are state schools, and of course, they get funding from their state government. But a lot of the HBCUs are private institutions, and of course, the threat there is: do we get enough funding to keep the doors open, to have the resources to grow? And I think we are in a time right now where we are probably really, I think, since the Obama era and then the Trump era came in after that, the enrollment of HBCUs have increased, and trying to maintain funding not only from a federal level but state as well. And the big thing is also increasing in alumni giving. So there's a threat. I think the only threat that I see is a lack of funding. In other words, the lack of money to keep the schools open.
Good. Yeah, I agree with you. It's really hard to put your hand on it sometimes. Why our athletes in particular are not getting the message that if they're good enough to play football, especially the ones that are not the 5 stars and 4 stars, if they're good enough to play football, that wherever you play, you will be found. And if that's a HBCU, you will be found. So
yeah, well, I've always thought that for sure. But even more so now, because we're getting the people on HBCU athletic staffs who have a name, namely Deion Sanders going to Jackson State, Eddie George up there at Tennessee State, and there's been others around the country that have brought attention to players at the HBCU level. That's always been there. I always thought that if a kid was good enough, the NFL, the NBA, they will find you, because that's what they do. They have recruiters out there looking at all levels, Division 2, Division 3, even. They have people out there scouting all the time. So try, and of course, the opportunity at a big PWI like Georgia, Alabama, they're gonna get more attention. But again, I think that if they have that that talent, they will be found on a HBCU. And plus, I think that some of the guys really miss out. You know, I mean, going to the HBCU is an experience. You know, it's really, some of my guys go. A lot of our athletes are missing out on a great opportunity just to have an experience that they probably have never had before, unless. Now, I got grandkids that went to some predominantly black high schools in Atlanta, and they sort of, their band, their athletic program, they sort of have a baby HBCU, if you would. So but a lot of kids here in Carrollton, where I'm living, the kids don't have that. They don't have that experience. And again, what I did this past homecoming at Tuskegee, I took 5 young men, all 17 years of age, to Tuskegee's homecoming. They had a blast. They never experienced anything like that. 3 of the kids was my grandsons. All 3 of them was 17, and 2 of their friends. So it was 5 and 1 granddaughter. And of course, I know being a Tuskegee grad, 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters who finished Tuskegee, to get out, to have those young men get out there and see what an HBCU was about, at least from the homecoming experience, is something, man, that they'll never forget and had an impact on them.
Yeah. We're going to talk in the second segment of the show. We're going to talk a little bit more about HBCUs from the PWI perspective. I know, Suleiman, you're going to have a lot to say in that segment, but as far as what you see right now, Suleiman, what do you think the biggest threat to HBCUs besides funding?
Well, I'm going to agree with you. Am I? Yeah, okay. I'm going to agree with the major said, but I'm going to take it in a different direction and say that I think there are 2 major reasons that are threats to us. One is ourselves, because I think sometimes we get complacent and we forget, the reason that HBCUs were started and created. We tend to get, all of us on this call are closer to why that was done compared to some of the younger folks who are a little bit further away as far as age is concerned. So they don't get it. So I say complacency with us is not realizing that, as the major said, the experience that you get. I'm an HBCU grad coming from Norfolk State. The experience that you get being around people who share your reflection, the culture that you pick up, being taught by people who look like you, being on campus, even though smaller campuses that are filled with people that look like you. From a funding perspective, I think that Black folks need to realize and understand that Trump's not taking money out of his own pocket from HBCUs. He's taking taxpayer-funded money that Black people in this country pay into. So we need to understand that you're taking money away from us. We pay taxes in order for us to fund our educational systems. Harvard, Yale, all the Ivy League schools get federal dollars. So HBCU should get the same amount of federal dollars, or at least on the same scale as far as our school population is. So we need to become more educated on the fact that when they say, oh, well, HBCU shouldn't be getting federal dollars. No, they should, because 50 million Black people in this country pay taxes into the federal system, and some of that money should go for us. And then the third thing from a funding perspective is people who graduated from HBCUs, we need to get back to our universities. I mean, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I'm a big Ohio State fan. Ohio State has the second largest endowment fund out of PWI universities in the country, because people who graduate from Ohio State and from the University of Texas and Georgia and USC, UCLA, they give money back to that university, which goes into an endowment fund, and those universities can build better football stadiums, better basketball stadiums, better professors, bring in better professors, become pharmaceutical testing labs for major corporations. That's what we need to do. So people who graduated from HBCUs, give money back. donate to your school so that they can take that money and build up our universities. So I agree. Just a little bit to add to what the major said is that we as a people, Black people, we need to get better in supporting our universities.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm just going to add a little bit to what both of y'all said, and it falls under the financial financial part of it also. My university, St. Augustine University, right now is going through financial trouble because of self-inflicted financial wounds and stuff. You see that at Black HBCUs. Of course, they're at PWIs too, but HBCUs don't have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to finances. So when you mess up your finances at an HBCU, it's magnified, and it's hard to get out of that hole. And for some reason, we keep getting board members on the boards, and we get presidents that for some reason cannot manage the money. And I'm not just saying manage the money. I'm talking about sometimes it don't look like they have an accounting system in place that will allow them to follow the money trail. When they get these audits, sometimes the auditor can't find millions of dollars. It's hard to lose millions of dollars, but these guys seem to always find a way to lose that money. And I'll keep it short, but in our case, we have the cronyism where the board members hire their frat brother or hire their best friends and all this other stuff, and so they don't want to check each other. So then you have that problem with audits going bad, and then the university going south because of financial problems, and it's hard to come back from. I just want to. Sometimes I just want to go there and say, hey, you got to get your money squared away, guys. You got to pay taxes too. They have a problem paying taxes.
Hey, can I take it another direction here?
Yeah.
For the threat to HBCUs, agree with all what you're saying. But one of the things, I go back to what Solomon said about we getting in our way. One thing that we have to do as Black people, we're gonna have to educate our own, because one of the things I ran into also was that there's a generation out there that doesn't appreciate HBCUs. They don't appreciate HBCUs, and that was one of the reasons we founded our alumni association, is that we wanted to educate people on the relevance of HBCUs, and this attitude that HBCUs give you a second-class education got to be dispelled. So we got to get rid of all that kind of stuff, and a lot of that coming from our own people. So we have to educate our own people to let them know the relevance. And I think in recent years, in the last, now that we have, when we had Kamala Harris as a vice president coming from Howard, and when we start seeing on our own Georgia Senator Warnock coming from Morehouse, and we're seeing more and more people that are in the spotlight coming from HBCUs. That's an education to our people that missed that. I went to school with Lionel Richie. I went to school with Tom Joyner. I came from Tuskegee, where General Chaffee James is revered on the campus. So there's a lot of, and just about any HBCU name, they have some famous, incredible people who have done great things throughout in the world, and we just we sort of have our kids, and there's a generation that never were taught that these people that came from HBCUs, what they have contributed to the world. So I think in the last 5 to 10 years, that had come to light a lot more than it had in the past. Surely before, when I got in Carrollton in 2006, when no one was hearing anything about HBCUs. Of course, now the community, at least they are learning. And I think once we continue that education process, see, that's the reason that this administration, taking away a lot, trying to take away a lot of our history, because if people don't know, then they don't know, and that becomes detrimental. Okay, so we have to sort of again toot our horn, put up
we
the
got to
sign.
fight back. We got to fight. That's what we got to do.
And I'm not gonna let anybody put down an HBCU.
Yeah,
not my own, not other HBCU. You start talking bad about an HBCU with me, then you got an argument.
Right.
Now we can talk about things behind closed doors.
Yeah,
among ourselves. But when I'm out here in the public forum and people start talking, downplaying HBCU, not gonna happen. So that's one thing. Again, ourselves, educating ourselves on the importance and the relevancy of our HBCUs.
Yeah, exactly. And Suleiman, you brought up a good point earlier, and Major, you just got through talking about it. So I'm gonna show a short video that would kind of give everybody a history of why HBCUs were brought about in the first place. And I gotta find it first because I logged off and then logged back on. So y'all, I'm gonna go off the camera, and y'all continue with the conversation a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna say Suleiman.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I use, and he maybe found that video. I use a lot of videos in my presentation. HBCU Connect is a website organization, if you would. I go to that website. A lot of information there. They've done a great job on providing information to the public about.
So what is it? HBCUconnect.com?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure I put that up on our social media. Okay.
Yeah, HBCUconnect.com.
Okay.
I get I'm on their email list. I get information from them. They got a lot of good videos on there as well. And they have some. There's another one. HBCU kids. There's one I use that shows these kids they under 10 years of age, and they saying the black doctors, so many percentage of black doctors come from HBCUs. Sure. So they got a young man dressed up as a doctor, another person as a military person, a lawyer. As the video is explaining the percentages of these professions that are HBCU graduates, these kids are sort of illustrating that in the video.
I'm gonna plug that. I'm gonna plug your organization and on our website, man. So
that's what I was getting ready to say before I put this video on, because after the video we'll go off for a few minutes. But is there anything else you would like to plug besides Carroll County HBCU Alumni Association?
Myself,
Major.
Other than I would just like to say to those HBCU alumni that's out there all over the country, one thing, and I think Suleiman said it, we got to learn to give. We have to give funds ourselves. I mean, it may get to the point that that we may not be able to depend on these other sources. We always will need sources and foundations or whatever that would give, but the alumni themselves have to step it up and do more. I believe.
Okay, well, good. Let me see if I can share this video this time and get something out of there. So give me just a second. I think I got it up now. So we're gonna play it. Yeah.
The first Black Supreme Court Justice, Surgeon General, and Vice President of the United States have more in common than making history. They all attended an HBCU. An HBCU is any historically Black college or university established before 1964. The principal mission of the schools was and is to educate Black Americans at a time when access to higher education was inaccessible for most. Even though historically Black colleges and universities represent 3% of all colleges and universities, they produce 20% of all Black college graduates in the United States. Today, there are 101 HBCUs located in 19 states, Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands. 70% of Black dentists and physicians, 80% of Black judges, and 25% of all Black STEM degree holders earn degrees from HBCUs. HBCUs have always been open to students of all races, and they've gotten more diverse in recent years, with non-Black students making up 24% of HBCU enrollment in 2018. While some HBCUs are thriving, many are facing hardships. Rising college costs, federal budget cuts, and the student loan crisis are deeply affecting HBCUs, where most students are low-income and first-generation college students. Since 1997, 15 HBCUs have had to close their doors. In 2019, Morehouse College, an all-male HBCU in Atlanta, made history when billionaire Robert F. Smith announced he would pay off the graduating class's student loans. The Biden administration has promised to pledge $70 billion towards HBCU funding.
There you go. So there you have it. I think that was a microcosm of everything that we talked about today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So pretty good video, and I thought it was pertinent to what we were talking about. Anything else, Suleiman, before we
yeah, just really quick. I thought that was an excellent video, and I think it kind of circles back around to what the major was saying at first is that, you know, people need to understand our history and understand that Black folks, there's not a single piece of American history that doesn't involve Black people, period. Bottom line. And we have to not just fight, but we got to put our money where our mouths is, you know, in reference to demanding that our representatives in Congress and at the Senate level fight and push back on this desire to erase our history. We need to push back on politicians that want to defund our universities because essentially what they're saying is they're trying to defund our history by defunding our universities. If we don't know where we come from, we don't know what we've accomplished in the past, then we'll become a lost people. So I just think that, you know, Black people really need to stand up, you know, stay off TikTok, stay off Instagram and these social media platforms and focus on, you know, people who share your reflection and people who are trying to do the right thing for Black people. That doesn't mean exclude anyone. It just means that the priority should be us. And I'll end with that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, good segment there. I appreciate you coming through, Major, taking the time to let us give us some history and also tell about Carroll County HBCU Alumni Association. Okay.
You're most welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, man. HBCU, man.
Oh, okay. I'm being corrected as we come on the air.
All right, what are you talking about, man?
I wrongfully accused Suleiman of going to a PWI when he actually went to
I'm a smart
to
man.
HBCU.
Come on, man. What are you talking about?
Shout out your HBCU. Shout it out.
Norfolk State University,
Okay,
baby. Pride of Norfolk, man. Come on.
There you go. I heard that. So I stand totally corrected. Okay. Okay, as y'all can see, we got Nikki back on this week, and she's gonna talk to us a little bit about our subject for this week, HBCUs in the time of Donald Trump administration and everything. She's gonna give us a perspective from a African American or a Black person that went to a predominantly white institute, where we call PWIs now. So the first thing I want to ask you is when you what was your perspective of HBCUs as a Black student at a PWI?
Well, I will say, because I grew up in a predominantly white community in a small country town. So going to a PWI was just normal to me. So I didn't feel out of place or anything like that because I went to school with a lot of white people. So it didn't affect me in any way. It's just like going to high school, going from middle school, elementary school, middle school to high school. That's just how I grew up.
Natural progression.
Huh?
It was a natural progression then.
It was.
Yeah.
I did have a chance to try out for HBCU college basketball team, and it was very different for me. Because that's not how I grew up. I didn't grow up in a predominantly Black neighborhood or, predominantly Black school. So when I initially went to try out for HBCU basketball team, it was so different. It's kind of like a culture shock to me. But the more that when I went off to a PWI college and just start running into more Black people and just getting to know people outside of my community, Black people outside of my community, I do wish I would have embraced it more. I wish I had the opportunity to experience it. And so, with Donald Trump trying to take all these programs away and take away opportunity for even for my kids to go to a HBCU, or any of the Black people to go to a HBCU, is just ridiculous. And I think everybody should have that opportunity to experience that if that's what they want to do, and not have to think about how much it's going to cost. And I don't think, they don't realize, initially going to college for us, or just being able to go to a college, was just a privilege. Like, our people work for that. They fought hard for that, to have our people to be able to go and get their education. So now to take it away and try to set us back, it just doesn't make sense. It's not fair to our community, because I think everybody should experience, if that's their choice, to go to a HBCU without thinking about the price tag, without thinking about how much it's going to cost. We should have the opportunity.
Yeah, and that could offer an opportunity to a lot of kids that don't have the opportunity to go to PWIs and everything. Tell them the story about when you went to college and you saw the Black people. Tell them the story. Tell everybody the story you told me about how you felt and everything.
Okay, so I was invited to try out for, I think it was Clark Atlanta, the basketball team, and my godmother took me to try out. And initially, when we drove into the campus, it was so many people outside of the campus. There was so much going on. I've never been in that type of environment in my life, so I was scared. And for a long time, I was scared to tell this story, because I didn't want anybody to think that I was afraid of my people. I was afraid of Black people. It wasn't that. I just had never been in those type of environment where I saw so many different people, so many Black people just surrounded on the campus. And then she was telling me that a lot of them didn't go to the campus, so I was scared for my safety, and I didn't know if that's what I wanted to be around. And that probably shouldn't have been my first experience going into a HBCU. I probably should have went and visited first to get the gist of it. But once I tried out, I just did not want to go back to go to school at Clark Atlanta.
What'd you think about that, Suleiman? You're muted, Sue.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, that's the experience of a lot of Black people in the United States. It's kind of, I'm losing my words, but it's kind of what happened to our people after Jim Crow. When stuff opened up, Black folks are like, look, I have the money, the ability to live somewhere else. I'm going to do that. And not a bad thing. I mean, they want something better for their children. And a lot of us moved into neighborhoods that were either predominantly white neighborhoods or, a mixture, because we were tired of segregation. And then, probably Nikki is probably a product of, parents that did that, or grandparents that did that. And then, you go down to Clark or Morehouse or, any HBCU, and you're not used to that. Yeah, it's an absolute culture shock. You're like, wait a minute, I've never seen this many Black people before in my life. And the whole campus is Black, and it's uncomfortable for people that haven't spent that time. So I don't hold anything against Nikki or anybody to experience that. That's what we had to do after segregation to make lives better for our kids. All I'm saying now is that we know that's the case. And if we want our kids to go to HBCUs, we need to show them, what our neighborhoods look like, show them what our universities look like, maybe take them to a football game or take them to a softball game or a basketball game, so they get used to that type of environment. I will say this without monopolizing the conversation is I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. So I was kind of the opposite. You know, when I went into the military, you know, I had never really been around. My high school was probably 70% Black, 30% whites, 80-20, something like that. So I had never been in a situation where I wasn't the majority. My father was taught us, so I was well prepared when I went into the military and how to deal with white folks because my father educated us on it. But it was a shock to me when I went into the military and I'm in boot camp and there's only like 3 of us out of 30 people in boot camp or 40 people in boot camp. That was a shock for me. Going on the ship and things like that, and the majority of people on the ship were white. So I had the reverse effect. But my father prepared me and my brothers for it. My sister, my oldest sister, she's 9 years older than me. She was a superstar in track in Ohio. I mean, she still got records in Ohio for 100, 200, that type of stuff. She went to Auburn in 1978. That was a humongous shock for her. I mean, literally, my sister was having nightmares. Because she had never experienced that, being from Ohio and predominantly Black neighborhood, going down to Auburn in 78, dealing with the environment during that time, completely different. So I think I'm opposite of Nikki, but I understand exactly what she went through. I mean, it's tough. And it's really tough for young folks. You're talking about a 17, 18-year-old going and experiencing something like that they've never experienced. Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah. My experience was sort of like yours, Suleiman, too. I think the only time I felt kind of uncomfortable being around my own people is when I left Greenville, North Carolina, and went to Washington, D.C., and in a place where everybody Black is in charge. Prince George County and Washington, D.C., everybody Black is in charge. Yeah. But to me, it was a mind-opening experience knowing that we as a people could do these type of things. Atlanta is sort of like that also. Yeah. But there's always this push and pull in Atlanta for the white people in Atlanta to try to wrestle power from the Black people. Sure. And the way they do it, in my opinion, is they're always bringing up scandals and stuff. Sure. Like white people don't have scandals, So to me, that was the shock for me when I went from my little town to Washington, D.C., and everybody Black is in charge. When I went to my HBCU, I was used to it. So sure. And that was what I chose, because I had a choice of which school I want to go to, North Carolina State or St. Augustine's University, and I decided to go to the HBCU. Now, my oldest daughter, she wanted to go to Howard University, and at first they didn't accept her, but then they called back and accepted her and gave her a scholarship and everything. And so that was her dream college, and she got to go there, and now she's going to go back and be a professor there. So that's gonna be good for her. And my youngest daughter really wanted to go to UGA, University of Georgia, and it didn't work out for her. So now she's going to Fort Valley University, which is a HBCU. And that was her first choice at first, but she knew that her best opportunity to be a veterinarian without transferring school was to go to UGA, even though she liked Fort Valley better, So those are some of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I would like to see from our people, and maybe I'm Gen X, our generation, is to give our kids the tools to be able to navigate between people who share your reflection, people who don't share your reflection, people who like or dislike you, people that we got to start giving them the tools. And I think that's one of the deficiencies, particularly in our community, is that we send our kids out without the tools. I mean, I will give my father more credit than I've ever done before, is that my father prepared me, my brother, my sister, how to navigate the world that doesn't always want you to see you succeed. I've never been in a situation before, even today, where I feel inferior to anybody. I've never been in that situation. I mean, there are multiple times when I was in the military and even in my current career where I'm the only person. I'm the only spot in the room. But I never feel and have never felt inferior to anybody. I feel like I can compete against anybody, anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to do it. And I think that we need to start instilling that in our children to say, you can compete, you will compete, and you will win. And I'll close it out by saying, when I go into a presentation or I go into an interview, when I'm presenting, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and that's how I feel, and that's how I present. When I go into an interview, I'm going into the interview and saying that this is my job to lose. I'm not coming in here to interview. I'm coming in here to tell you this is my job to lose. And I think we need to start instilling that in our children a little bit more. So I know I got on a little soapbox there, but I think that's okay.
That's okay. I was going to throw that question to Nikki anyway. How are you preparing your kids so that they don't have that same cultural shock that you had?
Well, one thing, my husband he went to Mays Benjamin High School. So he went to a high school where it was predominantly Black. And, in his community growing up, he saw Blacks, wealthy Black people doing well for themselves. So one thing that we do, hold on. I'm sorry.
Nikki's remote, y'all. Don't worry about it. She's remote.
So one thing that we do, we continue to take them to his neighborhoods, take them to Atlanta. So we go outside of Carrollton and visit his neighborhoods that he grew up in. We're always around other Black people that are doing well. And then also just seeing also the downside of it also, because it is a lot of homeless people on the streets of Atlanta. So they see that also. But we ride through the university, the Morehouse, the Clark Atlanta, Spelman. We ride through all those things and show them. So they've been down there, but they haven't been down there, been in the position that I was.
Getting them to the games and getting them exposed to, some of the exciting things that's going on the campus.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So I think that's a good first step in everything. And they got a little while, just as long as you're constantly exposing them to these different things. I guess my volume is up too high. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So those are the things that we like to hear that parents are doing with their kids, because if the trend that's going on now where where this administration is trying to seem like tear down our culture, close Black museums, say that being proud of your Blackness is divisive, we have to do the work at home. We have to educate our kids at home. We got to show them how great we are. And like Suleiman said, they got to know that they can win. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's better than you. They put on their pants just like you put on your pants. You got an opportunity. You need to take advantage of that opportunity. That's why I tell you, Nikki, all the time that I like the way you go hard for yours. And that's a good example for your kids to see that my mom get up in the morning and she go hard all day. And that's gonna, you might not think that it's going to affect them right away, but back in the head, because I remember when I was little how my mother used to get up in the morning, and sometimes back then she didn't drive, so she had to walk to work or whatever, but she got there, and I saw my father work like that too. We don't show them that stuff sometimes, and we don't say nothing about it when we're younger, but when you get older, it comes back up and you remember it. And those, and that's why parents got to understand, kids soak in everything they see, everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So go ahead. Anybody got anything else to say about our subject tonight?
Well, I just wanted to say, I mean, I think these conversations are important, and you know, I can't emphasize enough, man, that we need to instill confidence in our kids, and instill pride in our kids. It's a hard world out there, and the world doesn't owe you understanding. And I don't just say that about Black kids; I say that about anybody. The world doesn't owe you understanding, and you know, you got to go out there and be prepared to compete. I know people, you know, I don't like to use that word fair or fairness, because the world's not fair, nor is it, you know, is it involved in fairness. There are going to be people out there that dislike you, people out there that treat you differently or treat you wrong. So what? What are you going to do about it? Is what my father used to always tell me. So, you know, we need to prepare them when they go out there, have more pride in our people, our ancestors, what people in this country have done before us. And I think we'll be fine. I mean, I'm very optimistic about Black people and where we're going to be in 5 and 10 years. I'm not a Debbie Downer. And I don't think just because we're in a bad part or bad presidency right now that is going to kill us. I mean, our people have been through much, much worse and came out stronger. So if anybody's listening to this, you know, keep your head up, man. Keep moving forward. Listen to people like Nikki and her generation, because they're the ones that's going to be running this country in a few years, and we'll be fine.
Nikki, any final thoughts, and you want to share any of your social media sites or anything like that tonight?
Yeah. So again, real estate is Nunn Truss Realty. So NUNNTRUSS Realty .com. Facebook is Nikki Truss, and IG is Nikki Truss. So, but I'm excited to be here. Thank you. I think this is a conversation that need to be had. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, Tony, for just inviting me and allowing me to be a part of the conversation. And it's making me better and to do better. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can add to a conversation, it makes all of us better. And that's why we want to add different people to the conversation. Suleiman, the last thing before we go, can you explain to the people that are watching how this conversation ties into the last 2 episodes we had?
Yeah, so the last couple episodes, we've been kind of talking about the new administration and what they're trying to do, and how Black people need to come together. You know, Tony and I have talked over the last 2 to 3 episodes about, you know, we need to start reflecting on ourselves. You know, Black people are a very open community, meaning that we have no issues with allowing somebody who doesn't share our reflection to come in. We let people come into our music community, our entertainment community, our education community. We've always been that way. Black people kind of have that. We don't want people to experience what our ancestors experienced in this country, so we're very open. I will be very honest and say that I think from a social standpoint that's wrong, that we need to start looking at ourselves and looking at what benefits us, because everybody in this country does that with the exception of us. Everybody comes into our community, they try to steal our what we've accomplished, they try to steal what we've invented and turn it into something for them. And what I want to say is, in reference to this conversation, is we can come to the table together. If there are joint things that Black people and other people have in common that we want to accomplish in the United States, we can do that. We can come to the table and we can have a discussion, but that discussion is going to be equal. You know, you're going to have a certain part of the discussion. We're going to have a certain part of the discussion, and the results are going to be beneficial to everybody. We've been getting the short end of the stick, I think, Black people in this country, because we've allowed people to take what we've invented or what we've started and run with it. And my point is, we need to come to the table with a stronger foundation and tell people, if you want to work with us, fine, but here's what my people who look like me are going to get out of it. So this has been a really good conversation. HBCUs is a good start. We need to start sending our children there, getting educated by people at HBCUs, and then graduates like Nikki and I need to ensure that we are giving money back to those universities so that they can build their endowments to continue to grow as an educational institution. So hopefully that kind of brings everything around full circle of the conversation we've been having for the last 3 weeks.
It does. We got to remember why we had to go to HBCUs anyway.
Yep.
Because they didn't want us then, and now they seem not to want us now. So
right. Yep.
Good night, everybody. Give them our particulars and everything, Suleiman, before we get out of here.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, Gents Making Sense. You can see all of our full episodes, all of our guests, all of our shorts. We put everything up weekly on X and Spoutable. And then if you have any recommendations for us, please send us an email to gentsmakingsense@yahoo.com and subscribe. Go to YouTube, subscribe. If you see any things online, hit the like button. That's how we get our message out. We become more popular. I want to finish by saying that this podcast is not your normal podcast. You're not going to have people on here talking about stars and sports and entertainment. We bring normal Black people on here to talk about normal stories. So please join us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And like always, we say,
do it now, or I'll hunt you down. Smash like. Do it.
Thanks, Nikki. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.